Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exposing the hidden leaks in traditional fixed deposits and exploring a highly tax-efficient alternative that could literally save you thousands. You know, if you think your money is perfectly safe, just sleeping soundly in the bank and growing exactly as advertised, well, you might want to look a little closer at what's actually happening behind the scenes.
Okay, let's dive right into this jarring number, 4.5%. That is the actual real-world return you're getting on a heavily advertised 6.5% fixed deposit, assuming you sit in the 30% tax bracket. It's crazy, right? The bank promises you one bright, shiny number, but the reality hitting your bank account is entirely different.
Honestly, it's kind of like ordering a large pizza and watching 3 other people eat it while you just stand there holding the box. The bank, the income tax department, inflation, they all take their hefty slices before you even get a chance to take a bite of your own returns. You're doing the hard work by saving, but everyone else is feasting.
So let's talk about this leaky bucket. There are 4 major problems with FDs.
While fixed deposits are universally seen as the gold standard for safety, they suffer from 4 distinct, wealth-destroying problems, especially right now in 2026. Yes, they feel secure, but that feeling is costing you far more than you realize. First up, the slab tax. FDs have arguably the worst tax treatment of any asset class, taxing you at your absolute maximum income slab rate. Then there's TDS. Banks deduct tax deducted at source automatically once you cross a certain threshold, essentially sending your money to the government before you even see it. And if life happens and you need your money in an emergency, boom, you're hit with break penalties that reset your interest rate downward.
But actually, I skipped number 2 on purpose because it deserves its own spotlight. The FD is literally the only friend who sends you the bill for a party you haven't even attended yet. That accrual tax is just so incredibly annoying. Why? Because you pay tax every single year on a 5-year locked FD before the bank hands you a single rupee of interest. You are paying cash out of your pocket today for paper gains you won't even touch for half a decade. No way.
All right, let's move on to the arbitrage alternative. Let's dive into the solution. A solution that sits on the exact same financial shelf, offers similar boring safety, but pays you largely tax-free returns. It's called the Arbitrage Fund. Now, your relationship manager has probably never mentioned this to you, simply because they don't earn a juicy commission to sell it. To understand how it works, without getting bogged down in financial jargon, imagine buying a water bottle outside the airport for 20 rupees and instantly selling it inside the terminal for 80. You pocket the difference without taking any real risk because the buy and sell happen simultaneously. That, at its core, is arbitrage. Same asset, 2 prices, exact same moment.
Let's apply this to the real world right now. Think about the market context of July 27th, 2026. The stock market is having this massive rally. The Sensex is up 776 points. The Nifty surging near 23,995, and Brent crude has dipped down to $88. In a market this dynamic, high tax bracket investors are losing out immensely if they stay stuck in FDs. Here's what the arbitrage fund does instead. It buys a share in the cash market at say 1,000 rupees and instantly sells its futures contract at 1,006. Because these 2 prices absolutely must legally converge on expiry day, the actual direction of the booming market completely does not matter to your profit. Whether the Nifty rockets higher or crashes, that 6 rupee spread is locked in for sure.
Which brings us to the 65% rule.
So you might be wondering, if it's just locking in a small spread, why on earth is it better than an FD? Well, there's a massive legal loophole here that plays entirely in your favor. Because arbitrage funds hold over 65% of their portfolio in equity derivatives, they behave exactly like a boring debt product. But, and this is absolutely crucial, they are legally taxed like an equity product. This completely dodges your 30% slab rate. Instead of devastating slab taxes, you're looking at capital gains taxation, which comes with a beautiful 1.25 lakh rupee exemption every single financial year. It's a real game changer.
Let's stop and let this math breathe for a second. On a 10 lakh rupee investment over just 1 year, assuming you're in the 30% bracket, the net income difference is staggering. The arbitrage fund puts roughly 48% more actual cash in your pocket than the bank FD. Why? Because that first 1.25 lakh of long-term gains is totally tax-free. It's the same capital, comparable risk, but dramatically more cash in your hand.
But what happens when we stretch that timeline out? Over 5 years, the FD is severely hobbled by a post-tax compounding rate of just 4.47%. That's because you are constantly paying taxes every single year on accrual. But the arbitrage fund's taxation is deferred until you actually sell. This magic of gross compounding generates an extra 99,300 rupees on the exact same capital. That is nearly 10% of your initial investment appearing purely from optimizing your tax structure.
Just look at that massive gap in your earnings. It's a difference that, frankly, your relationship manager isn't telling you about because they don't get a lucrative commission on arbitrage funds. You really have to be your own advocate here and understand how these wrappers work so you can keep your own wealth.
Furthermore, arbitrage funds win massively on liquidity. You know, an FD is kind of like a whole watermelon. You either smash the whole thing or pay penalties just to get a piece. Arbitrage funds, on the other hand, are like pre-sliced watermelon. You can withdraw exactly what you need with just 2 taps on an app, while the rest of your money continues compounding completely untouched. It's the ultimate flexibility for your emergency corpus.
Now for the honest broker section. Let's look at the real risks.
Since this explainer is about real financial education and not some slick sales pitch, let's look at the actual caveats. Because honestly, this isn't magic money, and you need to understand the underlying mechanics before diving in. You've got to keep 4 realities in mind. First, returns can absolutely dip in sleepy markets when spreads compress. Second, there's no direct government DICGC insurance like a bank offers. Third, these yields are linked to short-term interest rates, so they will fall when the RBI cuts rates. And finally, high expense ratios can severely eat into your profits if you aren't paying attention to which specific fund you pick.
And honestly, there are times when fixed deposits legitimately went out. If you're in the 0% tax bracket, if you need the cash literally tomorrow for a medical bill, or if you genuinely can't stomach seeing a flat month of returns on your statement, you should stick exactly with the traditional FD. The entire tax arbitrage argument only works if you actually have a tax burden to optimize in the first place, right?
All right, let's go over the 5 rules to invest in arbitrage.
Okay, if you're ready to optimize your taxes and finally plug this leak in your portfolio, let's dive into exactly how you execute this properly. You must rigorously follow these steps. Always pick the direct plan and the growth option. This avoids distributor fees and accidental slab taxes on dividend payouts. Pick older, larger funds with deep liquidity. And crucially, always hold your investment for over 12 months. That unlocks that beautiful 12.5% long-term capital gains tax rate and the 1.25 lakh rupee exemption. Oh, and ignore the 1-month noise. Focus on the annual yield.
To squeeze out every single drop of value, consider these advanced strategies. You can multiply the exemption across your family members' accounts, or harvest your gains every March by booking profits just under the tax-free limit and immediately reinvesting them. This resets your tax basis for absolutely free. It's literally the financial equivalent of a free drink refill, and almost nobody takes advantage of it. It's crazy. Also, look into using them as an STP launchpad, replacing sweep-in FDs, and always checking the debt credit quality of the fund.
So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. And please, let us know in the comments. How much cash do you currently have sitting in FDs right now, and how much collective tax can you save by finally plugging this leak? The rules are written down and publicly available. It's totally up to you to use them. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it empowers you to take a closer look at your own portfolio. See you next time.